another day, another transgender news story. Miriam Margolyes, brilliant actress. She plays a key role in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter movies, of course. She's defended the writer's controversial position on transgender issues. Now, I say controversial when all J.K. Rowling has ever really said is that biological sex exists and erasing or ignoring women's life experiences is a dangerous path to go down. Also today, there's a professional Australian golfer, Mayan Bagger, who has transitioned from being female in 1995, to being female in 1995, has said that only biological women should be allowed to compete in professional sports. But she's one of the very few who've spoken out. The cast of Harry Potter lined up to publicly criticise J.K. Rowling when she said that women should not be called people who menstruate. Emma, in a sort of cliche way, I'm going to come to the woman first in this way.
How do you know?
Are you a person who menstruates or are you a woman?
Can I say that I am not only a person who menstruates, but I'm a person who menstruates who's also going through the frickin' menopause. So if you want to talk to me about biological reality, I'm your, well, I wouldn't say gal.
Well, J.K. Rowling would say that is the point, OK? So that a woman's experience from birth till death is very different for all sorts of biological reasons than somebody who transitions to being a woman. But there's a lot of silencing around this debate, isn't there?
There is, and it's been really, really unhelpful. And the people I would say that it's most unhelpful to actually is trans people, because we could have had a really nuanced, interesting, important debate about where the boundaries lie, and we all actually have 99% of common ground where we go, you know what, live and let live. It's very important that people should live the life that makes them feel happiest and most comfortable, as long as that doesn't then bump up against the rights of others. That is where almost everybody sits.
Absolutely.
The problem is a few very, very loud people started screaming, don't say anything like that, because actually that denies the reality of trans people. That then created a vast, vicious and vile, hurtful debate around the rights of particularly vulnerable women and the more vulnerable trans community who got caught in the middle of this. And it's come up through celebrities speaking out like J.K. Rowling. And again, I mean, I read her essay. There was nothing in there that was transphobic. There's nothing in there that was hateful. It was just talking about the vast majority of lived experience of women.
But you know what? It really is amazing. I was personally deplatformed about 5 years. It was before, you know, time's gone a bit funny, hasn't it, with lockdowns? We don't know what year it is anymore, but it was about 4 years ago, I think, and I was due to speak at a legal firm on International Women's Day to talk about the challenges of working mothers, and I worked with pregnant women at the time, women, not pregnant people, pregnant women, and I was going to talk at these legal firms about the challenges facing women in the 21st century. And 24 hours before I was due to go onto this panel, I was cancelled because I had liked a tweet of an article that had been in a national newspaper which was arguing for exactly this. So I got a call from the legal firm to say, we really like you, Bev, but we've got one transgender person in the office who's made a fuss and said you're not the appropriate person to speak. On International Women's Day, I was silenced by somebody who had, I presume, had transitioned to be a woman. I don't know. I don't know if they transitioned to be a man or transitioned to be a woman, but they didn't like what I had to say. And that's left a very bad taste in my mouth, because much better that they'd called me up and said, come along to the office. We've got someone would really love to meet you and have a coffee and tell you why that maybe you don't have the right position. Because, Alan, if the last 2 years have taught us anything, it's that conversation and debate and honest chat is what we need to remain free, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I really agree with what Emma was saying, and I think that it's a travesty now that people are not able to have a discussion without some people, maybe it's just a few, pointing and saying you're evil. And you're not a fellow citizen, that we have similar aspirations, we all have wants, human wants, forget anything else, that are universal, and we can discuss and we can disagree and you can aim to win hearts and minds. But there's a very pernicious thing that's going on, and it's not just in this debate, but it particularly striking within it, which is that the idea that if you offend someone, that you're not allowed to speak and actually you'll be taken down. And we've seen that with big tech and social media and the online safety bill that's being discussed now, and it will carry on going through, ping-pong, Parliament
Yeah.
is one of those things that is lawful but harmful. And who decides this whole idea that if you say something, your whole career could be jeopardised, your life, everything about what you do? And I really think that we need to... we have some... Thomas Paine talked about common sense, but we have to have a re-injection of common sense and honesty. Most people in Britain are decent, they believe in fair game, and I think they're very, very open-minded about what people choose to do. But there's a difference then about imposing the idea of what you can and cannot say and trying to deplatform. It's dishonest, and it means you haven't got the arguments to convince people.
What does this, Michael, what does this sort of, this ethos, this kind of mood in the air of not being able to speak about something in case somebody doesn't like you, ultimately, that's what it is, isn't it? That person might not like me if I say something that they find offensive. I don't really care whether people like me or not. That's why I like working here, because we're allowed to have these really frank, in-depth debates, which is so refreshing. What does it do politically, do you think, to a country?
Well, it's stifling,
Do you know what I mean? It is.
It's stifling. And I think, this is intolerance dressed up as niceness. And I actually got to say on GBNews, hearing some fantastic input on this, we probably disagree on a lot of different things. But the way that you have this debate is very important. 2 points I just want to make on this. One of the most worrying developments, I think, in this country as a democracy is this rise that we've seen on university campuses of young people campaigning and trying to stop events of people speaking because they don't agree with what they say. And on virtually every occasion, the universities buckle and allow mobs to stop people hearing something they may disagree with. And who knows, if they go along, they may actually agree with more than they disagree with. And just the second thing on J.K. Rowling, the abuse that people like her are now getting online on Twitter is disgusting. And I want to, we need to think very seriously as a society across the world, really, about the psychology of grown men, grown women signing up anonymous accounts online and abusing people they've never met in a way that they would never dare do face-to-face. That's really one. If you look at some of the tweets of people, whether it be J.K. Rowling or politicians in this country, the abuse, the name-calling that people are now facing, as I say, from grown adults who hide behind anonymous troll accounts and make these sorts of comments. The psychology of that fascinates me.
But you see, I'm really interested in the psychology of the people who are upset by that. Because, in a way, you've got to... If you're in the public eye, you're on social media, you know it comes with the territory.
I think it's unhealthy. If you see some of these people, they're sending hundreds of tweets a day, a variety of people. I seriously worry for their mental health. If they're sitting at 11 o'clock, probably after they put their kids to bed, and they're sitting abusing people online.
Oh,
I think that isn't mentally
Yeah, but
well.
I don't worry about their mental health because they're being really unkind. So
but people are working themselves up into a stupor, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And we keep going that way, it builds up a level of intolerance.
Yes.
And the idea that we can abuse people online just because we can hide behind anonymous accounts.
Just to give you an idea, I mean, they weren't even anonymous, but when J.K. Rowling had spoken out, not spoken out, but when she said women are women, not people who menstruate, she was worried about... It's a very old-fashioned thing. It's a Latin phrase. I don't know how good your Latin is, guys. Totum mulier in utero, I believe. I'm dragging that from my university days, which was basically meant women are nothing but a womb. Which
was a spell from Harry Potter.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling should sneak that in, shouldn't she? But the idea was it was a literary thing. Women are nothing but a womb. It was a Latin phrase. We've come on quite a long way, but since those to consider we're not. And actually now to call women again people who menstruate, for me it feels like we're sort of going slightly back to that very reductive definition. But Daniel Radcliffe has said transgender women are women. Any statement to the contrary erases the identity and dignity of transgender people. Harry Potter himself. Rupert Grint, who plays Ron Weasley, he said... sorry, it's the other way around. I always get his wrong. Ron Weasley's the character. I was right, wasn't I? I firmly stand with the trans community, he said, and echo the sentiments expressed by many of my peers. They kind of ganged up on her.
That's gratitude for you, isn't it?
Yeah, so, I mean, I really think that it also, what we've faced with at the moment, and this is from people in institutions, it's from government and from... a range of areas, is the idea that the public can't be trusted with a debate, that they're mad, bad and dangerous, that if you have a discussion, they're all ready to spring into being terrible monsters that are going to be really reactionary and do terrible things. And actually, look at what happens. When we were faced at the start with something we didn't know, 1 million people volunteered. Look at what people are doing. opening their homes to people, refugees. Look at what people do. For the large part, for a massively, massively huge proportion, people are decent, they're open to listen. And I think that, you know, this is why the online safety bill is really important, but generally the attacks on free speech, we need to really encourage everyone to say, believe in people, win hearts and minds. The demos, citizens, they have an aptitude and they have a capability to understand, make decisions. And actually, what you'll do if you don't do that and you carry on cancelling is you don't change ideas. You actually entrench, actually, some of those ideas. And you drive them away, and you drive people... And actually, I think that actually encourages and increases a kind of more hatred and resentment, and we've got to be much more open together.
Yeah.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.